Hey, Christian here. Welcome to this week's Gig Harbor Market Update. And what we're going to be talking about this week is the new changes to Gig Harbor's Airbnb laws or any short-term vacation rentals, really. As there's been quite a controversy here in the government or the city council for the past 18 months, and they finally decided on what to do with all those pesky short-term rentals. If you would like to know what effects that are going to take place here, stay tuned. You've probably noticed some new surroundings behind me, and that's because I've moved from my home office to my Windermere office, and I think it's a little bit more peace and quiet here, and I can, a little bit focus more on producing videos, which I should be putting out on a more regular basis. So anyway, we'll probably be stuck with this for a while until I can find a new place to make videos. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into which Airbnb rules are going to take place here. Okay, without much further ado, let's go right into the rules. I have them pulled up on the screen here. I don't know if you can see those. Let me zoom in. Yeah, here we go. Hopefully you can read that. Basically, the new legislation is that short-term rental operators are required to have a Type 2 permit. You have to have a business license both in the state of Washington and in the city of Gig Harbor. And you have to sign an affidavit confirming that you followed all of the city's short-term rental rules. And of course, this will set you back about $650 for the business license and the permits. And of course, you do have to renew your business license every year. So it's one of those things that happens so infrequently that it, kind of falls by the wayside, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to renew. Anyway, those are the rules moving forward. But wait, there's more. Yes, there's more to the story and more to the rules. We'll go into those in a second, but first let's get the backstory about why all this kerfuffle happened in the first place. Firstly, let's look at the opponent side of short-term rentals. Their argument was that investors are coming up, buying up all the properties, driving up all the prices, and essentially pricing out teachers and firefighters from buying, the medium price house in Gig Harbor. Additionally, they're wary of having these Airbnb short-term rental properties in their neighborhoods because when a house is essentially rotating like a clown car, that kind of destroys the neighborhood vibe. Like, it's not your next door neighbor, it's like these people that you see maybe for the weekend and they party and then they, jet off. So that was another thing that they were saying, these short-term rentals are destroying the whole neighborly feel of Gig Harbor. As for the proponents of short-term rentals, they're saying that the majority of the short-term rentals on the market are in fact homeowners who are letting out, sorry, that's a British word of renting, letting out part of their property. So either an ADU or a bedroom or a guest suite or a cottage, something on their property that they're using to generate a little bit of extra revenue so they can either pay property taxes or just make ends meet. The ordinance that was put into place was basically to assuage the fears of the short-term rental opponents by trying to limit an investor coming in and buying up multiple properties, and while still allowing the homeowner, the individual, to still engage in the short-term rental business. Now that you know a little bit about the backstory, let's go into some other details about what the ordinance is requiring. Let me move my head out of the way, and here you have on the screen, hopefully you can read that. Basically, the ordinance allows only one short-term rental per applicant/homeowner. LLCs and other business types can still own such rentals, but it's unknown if one person can own multiple short-term rentals under multiple LLCs. That's because in most cases, a landlord usually has an LLC set up for each individual rental property they own due to not getting sued, or when they get sued, they can't reach all the other properties. And short-term rentals are permitted in all city zones that already allow dwelling units. In addition to this, moving forward, the city will hire a consultant, so here more tax dollars at work, to monitor and report on how many applicants are seeking short-term rental permits each month, how many short-term rentals are operating inside the city limits, how much the city collects in lodging tax revenues from short-term rentals, zones or neighborhoods that are impacted the most by short-term rentals, and compliance with the ordinance to assist the city's code enforcement staff. So that's that really. So for now, that's the rules, and moving forward, probably a 3 years time span, the city will look, what's happened within that time and see if there's any adjustments that need to be done, in 2-3 years time. So if you're looking at, converting one of your places into an Airbnb or part of your house, or you're looking to invest in some property, those are the rules moving forward. Now I have a little bit more to say on the subject. That's pretty much the news. You can stop here if you'd like, but I'm going to share some thoughts right now about on the subject. Okay, now for some of my thoughts that nobody asked for, but I thought I can share them here with you anyway. Basically, what I think is that Airbnbs or short-term rentals or VRBOs are a non-issue for Gig Harbor. And the reason is, first of all, there's not that many of them. I can show you here. Let's pop over to the actual website here. So VRBO has 44 properties, and that includes this area of Key Peninsula, Vashon, and Ruston Way. So really, there's not that many. And we can also check Airbnb here, and we can see that there are 174 homes in Gig Harbor, and that includes homes out here in Cape Peninsula. As you can see, there's not too many homes that are listed on Airbnb, and most are located in places such as downtown core, where people want to spend a few days enjoying the historic neighborhoods, or they want to have some sweet little waterfront. This looks like an ADU rental. There's waterfront, or there's the one that's like a farm stay in Gig Harbor. So it's not like they're taking up middle class neighborhoods. Basically, people are just picking areas that are quite quintessential to Gig Harbor, and that's not going to price middle school teachers and firefighters out of kind of typical middle class neighborhoods. Additionally, short-term rentals are increasingly facing headwinds going forward, and that's because if you look on social media, there's a big negative perspective of them now, and that is frequently associated with price gouging. So just like when you order something on Amazon, all of a sudden they jack up the shipping fee, and that's to make up profit on the product, not because shipping fee is actually that expensive. Same goes for Airbnbs. They charge like $200 or $300 for cleaning, and it really doesn't cost $200, $300 to clean, and on top of that, they ask you to do all the cleaning anyway. So people feel like they're being ripped off, and they would rather stay in a hotel. So that's the public image is definitely worsening for short-term rentals or vacation rental by owner. So just like Uber, Airbnb started out as a ride-sharing service, like, oh, I'm going to drive to Seattle. Would you like to come with me? I'm going to drive to Seattle. Airbnb started as, oh yeah, we can have an Airbnb business when it suits us, and not full-time, just because we like having, people come visit and we can share them and show them the area, and that kind of charming sense of what a true B&B is. However, it turned into something that it's not. The second point is more of an economic point, and that's because the Fed kept artificially low interest rates during COVID. And what did this do? It drove up housing prices, and rental rates did not keep up. And in fact, renters were prohibited from being kicked out of their units. So even if you rented out a unit, there's no guarantee that they would actually pay you. So what people did is they rented out short-term vacation rentals. First of all, it's because they had credit cards on file, so people couldn't just not pay. Additionally, it had higher income. Well, it was higher management as well, but it had a room for higher income, meaning that properties started to pencil out again. However, as interest rates continue to climb, even Airbnbs or VRBOs, whatever have you, are becoming not very profitable anymore. And long-term rentals are now going to be in vogue because it makes sense as housing prices come down or stabilize and rents are catching up. Another big economic factor that's going to be hitting the supply of Airbnbs and their profitability is the fact that we're in a recession and in a high inflation environment, which means people's spending power goes down. That means that their discretionary spending, which is vacations, for example, they don't really want to spend money on those anymore because they put money towards other things like gas, heating, groceries, right? So they're no longer going to go on these Airbnb vacations, meaning that there's not going to be enough demand, and all of a sudden these Airbnbs are not going to be fully booked out, and then long-term rental make longer or selling them make more sense than holding it as an Airbnb. That is the problem essentially solving itself. And I'm not just postulating stuff here, like this is coming from a personal anecdote. I used to run an Airbnb now in Tacoma for 5 years, and we just did taxes on it for this year, and we calculated on average we were making about $700 in profit each month, which is not a lot. I mean, that's a 2% return. I could get more of a return selling the house, putting into a risk-free treasury than I can of running a business. So basically what we decided is convert it to a long-term rental. So that will actually generate more profit for us, and we can keep, you know, the property to develop on it in the future. So I'll get into that, the whole development thing here as I progress into it. But basically, a long-term rental lets you count the lease agreement towards your income, allowing you to, you know, borrow more money from the bank essentially. So that's another benefit of running a long-term rental versus short-term. Short-term rentals do not count towards your income. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for watching. That was my thoughts on the matter. And if you'd like to stay, I'm gonna go over some Gig Harbor houses that have come up on the market. And if not, I'll see you next time.